Hello, Professor. This is the demonstration of my final project. In this final project, we're going to use two API. My first API is going to be the Twitter API. The Twitter API use the OAuth 2.0 authorization code flow with PKCE. We are going to do a three-leg authentication with PKCE. With PKCE, it's going to be a little bit different when we construct the authorization URL. So we need to, when we construct the authorized URL, we need to add a code challenge and a code challenge method. And we need to use the code challenge to generate a code verifier. And later, when we request the token, we are going to include this code verifier in the data field. And we are going to use two endpoints with Twitter API. The first endpoint would be the /2/users/me endpoint. This is an easy endpoint. We request it with the get method, and the API will return the information about an authorized user. So it's going to include in this JSON object with name of the user and the username of the user and the ID of the user. For the second endpoint is the /2/tweet endpoint. This is more important. We're gonna use this endpoint to create a Twitter on behalf of the authenticated user. And then we're gonna receive response with also with a JSON object containing ID and the text. Text is the tweet content, and the ID is the ID of the Twitter. And then the second API is going to be wife.im. This is the API base URL. We're gonna use the /search endpoint. This endpoint. We're gonna do a get method, and it's going to return JSON. We're gonna parse the result and take the URL out, and use this URL to create a tweet. Second, I'm going to go through the sequence diagram. Excuse me. So in this sequence diagram, we will have four entities. The first one is the wife.im API, and the user and the server, and the Twitter API. So first, the user will open the browser and send a GET request to localhost 3000. The server will receive a response back with 200 OK and index.html, which is a website with a form for the user to fill out. The user is going to fill out the form and click submit, and the form containing tweet contents. The browser is going to construct a URL to send a GET request to localhost 3000/tweet tweet content. As the server gets the GET request, it's going to parse the URL, take out the tweet content, and randomly generate the state variable and the code challenge variable. Use the code challenge variable to generate code verifier, and it's going to save the state, the code verifier, and tweet content from this variables get from the user into a array. And then the server is going to respond back with a 302 temporary redirect with a location to um, Twitter. Um, this is the location is the authorized URL the server construct, and as the browser sees 302, it's gonna create a get method get request to Twitter API. It's going to forward response type, client ID, redirect URI, state, code challenge, and code challenge method and scope. So it's going to send a get request to this URL we just construct, and the Twitter sees this get message, sees this get request. If the user is not logged in, it's going to send back 200 OK with a login form for the user to log in. If the user has already logged in, it's going to send back 200 OK and the grant permission page. As the user if the user wants to grant the permission to the application identified by the client ID. If the user click authorize, the Twitter will send back a 302 response, temporary redirect back to localhost, and localhost and the browser sees this temporary redirect. It's gonna create a new GET request to the server with the following URL containing the authorization code and the state. And the server sees this, parse the URL. The server gets the state and code. The server will use the state to look up the array with the with the content we just saved to take out the code verifier and tweak contents. And the server is going to do a post request forwarding the code we just got, and the code verifier and the client secret, client ID, and the same redirect URI we used before, and the client type. In this case, the client type will be public. And then the Twitter API sees this post request. It's gonna exchange the authorization code with the access token and the refresh token. It's going to send back 200 OK with the access token to the server. And then as the server gets this access token, we're gonna make a request to the second API. Second API is a public API. It does not require any authentication. So we just do a get method to the second API. The second API will send back 200 OK with the JSON, and we will parse the JSON to take out the picture URL. As we get the picture URL, we're gonna post a tweet. So we do a post request to this endpoint with the header. The authorization is the access token, the bearer access token. We include it in the header, and the post data will be the text, which is the tweet content we got from the form that the user fill out, and the picture URL which we got from the second API. And as we post it to the Twitter API, the Twitter API sees the post request, and it's going to give back 200 OK plus the response JSON, which contain the Twitter's content. And then we're gonna do the server is gonna do a GET request to /2/user/me to get the username of the authorized user. And the header also contains the access token for authorization, for authentication. And the Twitter API sees this get, and we will respond back with 200 OK plus authorized user's Twitter's username. And then we take this username. We will do 302 temporary redirect response, which is the response of this request. So this is get request, and we will respond here with the 302 temporary redirect to the Twitter / the username we just got, and it's going to be redirect to the authenticated user's homepage. As the browser sees this 302, this is the typo. Shouldn't be 301, it's 302. The browser will create you get request to this homepage, and the Twitter API will send back 200 OK plus the authorized user's homepage. And this is all about the sequence diagram. Next, I'm going to go through the code. So first, we call http.createServer to create a server, and we listen on port 3000. And we call the server.on to listen for the request. The callback is right here, request handler, and we go to request handler. We do a if else. So if the request URL is the localhost 3000 / we're going to create a restring to read in the HTML, which is this HTML. This is the page that containing the form for the user to fill out. Since the form is string type and the response is a string type, when we write it, we can just also pipe it to, since they're both string type, so we just pipe it, and then the user gets this page fill out, and it's going to click submit button, and the form action will be tweet. The method is get method, so it will jump to this URL, start with /tweet, and followed by question mark. After the question mark will be the tweet content. Excuse me. So with the get method, what the user input will be included in the query. So we do a search param to get a user input, and this will be a hash map, I guess, and we get the Twitter content, which is in the user input, and then we will generate the state and the code and the verifier. We use this verifier to generate a code challenge, and then we save the state, the verifier, and tweet content. We pass in the code challenge and the response, and the state to redirect to Twitter, this function. In this function, we're gonna create a we're gonna do a redirect. We're gonna do a redirect to we're gonna construct the URL first with the response type, client ID, redirect URI, state, code challenge, and code challenge method and scope. And we construct this authorized URL right here. We right head 302. We do a redirect, and then the user is going to get the Twitter login page and login and click authorize, and the Twitter is going to redirect back to the redirect URI, which is /receive code, and we catch right here. So with this redirect back, the Twitter will contain the code and the state in the query, and we parse it to get the code and state, and then we look up the same states in the array. We just save the state. We save the state right here. Auth_system.push save verifier and tweet content. We look it up, and we get the current verifier and tweet content from the session we saved. And then we pass in the code, the authorized code, the current verifier, and the tweet content correspond to the state and response to send access token request. We're gonna send the access token request. This is the token endpoint. It's going to be a post request. So we construct the post data containing code, grant type, client ID, client secret, code verifier, current type, and the same redirect URI we used before. And then we set the method to post. The content type would be URL encoded, and we call http.request, passing the token endpoint, the option, and then we .end, passing the post data. And then for the response, it's going to be a string type. So we use this process string function to process the string, and when the string signal the end event, we do a callback, and the callback is right here, and the callback can take more arguments with the this spread operator, not spread, rest operator. So we are right here. So this process string is going to have a callback called receive access token. So as the response string is processed, we got a access token and a refresh token. We console log to make sure we actually got it. And then we're gonna do we're gonna call the second API in this get picture URL function. We're gonna pass in access token. We're gonna need it later, and tweet content also need it later, and response. In this get picture URL function, we have this endpoint, which is the endpoint of the second API wife.im, and we do a request to this endpoint listen for the response. And we also in this callback, we also call the process string function. And then as we process the string, we'll get the result, and we go to pass picture URL function. Get to this function, we have the data we get, which is the data we get from this request, and also passing access token and tweet content. We're gonna need them in the future. And then we're gonna parse this data, and then we're gonna use the question mark and dot to search in the JSON in this JSON object. We're gonna take the URL out. So as we get the picture URL, we call another function, post to tweet, passing access token, picture URL, tweet content, and response. And we go to post tweet. We're gonna post the tweet here. The tweet endpoint is right here, /2/tweet, and then the method is going to be a post method. The content tag is going to be application/JSON, and this is where the access token is needed. We need to do the authorization, and as we call it, we pass in the post data. The post data would be the tweet content plus the picture URL. It's right here, tweet content plus the picture URL, and then we call JSON.stringify, and we post this. We send this post request with data. And then it's also going to give a response with string. We also call the process string function, and the callback is receive tweet response, and we go to receive tweet response. It's going to give us the response with the tweet content and the ID of the tweet. And in this callback function, we call next function, get Twitter username, passing the access token and response. In get Twitter username, we make a get request to this endpoint, /2/users/me, and this endpoint is going to return the username of a authorized user, and then we also need the authorization right here, and we send the request, and the response is going to be a string, so we call the process string function and use this callback to take advantage of this callback, and then we get the body, which is the response. And then we parse this body. The username is in the data, so we take the username out. Finally we do a write head to send the HTTP response back to the user, do a temporary redirect, to the user's homepage. The user's homepage is just twitter.com/the username, and then the browser will see this response and then create a get get request to twitter.com/the username, and then the API is gonna finally return the user's homepage, and that's it about my code. So throughout the code, we take a lot of the advantage of this process string function, and this base 64 URL encoded function and the CSCI355 function is just for just used to generate the code challenge with the code verifier. It's used for the PKCE. And let's say about my code, we can actually run the program. So right here. No. So now we start the server. We go to our browser, type in localhost 3000. It's going to give us the form to fill out, and we fill out this tweet content. Gonna do a test demo, and then we click tweet. It's going to redirect us to the Twitter's homepage, Twitter's authorization page. And since we are not logged in, so it sends a login form. We just click login. Excuse me. As we log in, wrong password. As we log in, it's going to give us this authorization page, and we click authorize app. It's going to authorize and go back to the server, and the server going to go back to server, and server going to so the server is going to get the code exchange for token, and then make a call to second API, and then and then get the username from the Twitter API. And as the server gets this information, it's gonna send a Twitter with the information we got from the second API and with the form we fill out. And then the server gets the username and redirect, send the 302 back to the browser, and the browser redirect us to this homepage. And we can see right here, we type in demo, and the demo's right here, and we make a call to the second API, and the second API's picture URL is right here. We get a picture, and then we can make a multiple call. Demo 2 authorize. So each time we make a call, it's going to give us, each time we click the tweet, it's going to send the different Twitter with different picture. And then so this two API call will be synchronous because we make sure it's synchronous because we're gonna call the Twitter API first, and then call the wife.im API. Use the result from wife.im API to post to Twitter, so we can make sure it's synchronous step by step. And this is the demonstration of my final project. That's it. Thank you.